I'm Scott Hansen. I'm a professor at Southern Utah University. I teach in the CAD/CAM engineering technology area. And this module will include instruction on how to create a simple part and how to perform edits or modifications to that part in the sketch area and in the features area. So first we'll start by creating just a simple part. We'll move our cursor to the little white piece of paper, left click on that. The new SolidWorks document dialog box will appear. We'll left click on part and we'll left click on OK. And this is the area where solids are edited and modified. We're going to left click on the sketch tab, left click on sketch, and left click on the front plane. And we'll right click, left click on display grid, and you'll see the tools at the top now are for the creation and editing of geometry, which is used for creating a solid. So we're just going to start with a simple rectangle. We'll left click on the rectangle command and we'll just create a rectangle that looks something like this. Left click, right click, select. We'll left click on smart dimension. I'm going to move the cursor to this left side line. Left click once, enter 0.5, hit the green check mark, and we'll dimension this portion of the rectangle to 5. Then with the green check mark. We'll left click on the line command. And we'll draw a line out here to the side. This is a revolve line. We'll dimension this to 0.5, which will create a 1-inch hole in this sketch when it's revolved into a plate. And then we'll right click, exit sketch. I'm going to left click on the features tab. We'll left click on revolved boss base, and now the axis of revolution box is highlighted, it's active, so I'm going to come down here and left click on the axis. Then as we move down this panel, we take the check out of thin feature because we want a solid, not a shelled part. Selected contours, we'll left click in there. And we'll left click inside the contour we created. Now it doesn't hurt to go back and reselect the axis. So we'll left click on the axis of revolution box and we'll left click on the axis itself. And it's found it, even though it's not going to give us a preview. We're going to left click on the green check mark and it still is able to revolve this part. So we'll scroll out using the scroll wheel and scroll back in a little bit. I'm going to left click out here in the work area, causing that sketch to be hidden. Okay, then we will create a sketch on this surface here so that we can cut a hole in it. I'm going to push the mouse wheel down and simply rotate the part up and off to the side a little bit. Now that this surface is highlighted, I'm going to right click and I'm going to left click on sketch. Then we'll move our cursor to the circle command, left click on circle, and we can draw a circle pretty much anywhere. I like to try and get it hooked in the center of the part, and we'll dimension both of these. So left click on smart dimension and we'll enter 1.5 for the diameter of the hole and 4 for the distance between those hole centers. And we'll left click on the green check mark. We'll right click, exit sketch. Our tools up here now are for use with some type of a solid, which is what we have. We're going to create a extruded cut with this sketch. So we'll left click on the extruded cut command It gives us a preview. We'll enter 0.5, and then we'll left click on the green check mark, and we now have a hole that we have cut in this part. Left click out in the work area to hide that original sketch. We'll push the mouse wheel down, rotate it around. Okay, we'll use the circular pattern command to create a series of holes in this face. Before we can do that, we need to left click on the reference geometry icon and project an axis into the middle of this part. So left click on axis. We'll move the cursor to the edge of the part. When both edges light up, left click once. You can see this axis that SolidWorks has projected in here. And then we'll hit the green check mark. Now the axis that we just created is only used for the circular pattern that we're going to create. If we decide we need an additional circular pattern, we will need to create another axis, and it will just go right over the top of this axis, but this axis cannot be used for future circular pattern commands. So I'm going to drop the arrow down underneath linear pattern, left click on circular pattern. The first thing it's asking for is features to pattern, because this box is blue. I'm going to left click one time. It should have already found the axis, and we have our 6 holes, which is the default, and we've told it we want 360 degrees of fill, basically to fill everything, and we have our dot in full preview. So we can left click on the green check mark, and we have our plate with a series of holes. Now, we created this simple part so that we would have a part with several features that we could edit. So if we move our cursor over here to the left, this is the part tree, history tree, has several generic terms. We're going to left click on each one of these little plus signs, and these are the operations that were involved in the creation of this part. If we move the cursor to sketch 1, sketch 1 appears in the part. That is the sketch that was used to create this plate. It was revolved into a solid. If we move our cursor to Revolve 1 in the part tree, the entire part lights up. This was the revolve that was used to create this solid out of that first sketch. If we move our cursor to sketch 2, sketch 2 becomes highlighted, and it's the circle that was used for the extruded cut. We move our cursor to the cut extrude icon. This is the extrude that was used to create this through hole. Then we move our cursor to the axis. It shows the axis, and if we move our cursor to circular pattern, nothing really highlights, but that is another one that we can edit. So we will start by editing pretty much everything in this part tree. We'll move to sketch 1. When it becomes highlighted, we'll right click, and we move our cursor up here. What looks like is the exit sketch icon is really the edit sketch icon, because there is a little pencil there. So we'll left click on edit sketch, and it basically takes us back to when we first created this part. So we'll double click on 5, and we'll enter a 6. We'll left click on the green check mark. We'll right click, exit sketch. We don't need to re-revolve anything. It will simply update the part with this new sketch. Now if we push the mouse wheel down, we can see that the plate is now bigger. The holes are not as close to the edge as they once were. Okay, we can right click on Revolve 1. This is the edit feature command. It basically looks like the extruded boss base command, but it has a little hand. And this one takes us back to where we're getting ready to revolve this part. Now if we decided we only wanted to have a 45-degree revolve or a 60-degree revolve or a 270-degree revolve, we can simply make that change here. We're going to go ahead and leave it as a full revolve because we want a full part. Alright, if we move the cursor to Sketch 2, right click, edit sketch, it takes us back to the sketch that was used to create this feature. We can make some changes here. We can enter 5 in for the distance, and we can also change this diameter of the hole to 1.75. Again, we don't have to re-extrude or anything. All we have to do is exit out of the sketch. So we left click on dimension, we right click, exit sketch, and now the holes are bigger in diameter and their location has been moved. The next thing is the cut extrude. We can right click on cut extrude, we can left click on edit feature, and if we'd like, we can change the cut extrude depth. If we enter 0.25, and we hit the green check mark, we turn the part around, you will see that the cut extrude does not go all the way through now. If that is a need for part modification, then it's much easier to simply go in and change some of these variables than it is to create a part from scratch. We obviously would like to have that cut through, so we'll right click on it again, left click on edit feature, and we'll change it back to 0.5. Exit sketch. We don't even have to exit the sketch, we just hit the green check mark, and the holes have now been restored to where they go all the way through. And lastly, we left click on circle pattern, circ pattern, left click on edit feature, the circular pattern dialog box comes up, we can enter 8, left click on the green check mark, and now we have 8 holes in this part. So this concludes this module on how to edit sketches and features of existing parts.